Begin by going to the File tab and click on Import from Photos. We will use the image we made in Photoshop Mix. Crop the image and make a couple of adjustments in contrast and sharpness so that you have the best possible image to work from. Create a new layer. This will be the makeup foundation layer. Use the dropper tool to select a medium color from the skin tone. Go to the airbrush tool that looks like a spray can. Adjust your spray size and opacity. Spray a fine layer all over the face just like you would apply foundation makeup. Next, use the dropper tool to select a darker shadow color from a shadowed area on the face. Airbrush it in the sections you want to contour, like under the cheeks, around the hairline, under the jaw, and around the nose. Next, use the dropper tool to select a lighter color and airbrush the areas you would highlight with makeup, like the tops of the cheekbones, the center of the forehead, down the center of the nose, and along the jawline. You'll constantly be wanting to adjust your opacity and the size of your brush as you work, as you see what you need. I used the color adjuster slides to make the highlight color just a little bit more golden. I then went back in with a medium tone and smoothed the skin a little bit more. Next, I select a blush color that I can adjust into the proper color that I want. I then airbrushed in the blush in the cheeks, again using the spray can tool. I was a little bit messy around the hairline and around the neck, so I select the eraser tool and go back in and clean up around those edges. For the next layer that I created, I roughed in the colors for the hair. I focused on larger areas of color at this point, not worrying too much about detail. I used the dropper tool to pick different colors out of the hair and the airbrush tool to block in the sections of color. I then switched to the pencil tool to draw in smaller areas of color that I would then smudge with the smudger tool. To check your work, turn off the little eye icon by clicking on it for the original photo layer. This makes it easy to see what you've already done with your work and where you need to blend or add colors. I wanted to add in darker areas, so I selected a dark color and added those in with the airbrush tool. Click on the eye icon to bring back the layer. I continued adding in the hair colors at this point to get lots of variety that this hairstyle has. Was constantly going back and forth, adding colors, smudging them a little bit, adding some more, smudging a little bit. And I used a combination of the pencil tool and the airbrush tool. Next, I wanted to go in and add in some of the actress's personal details, like her eyes, nostrils, and lips. I continued to use the dropper tool to select the colors, the pencil tool to draw the colors in, and the smudge tool to blend them. I'm coloring right over top of what's already there so that it starts to take on the look of a true full rendering. I check my work again, clicking on the icon off the original photo, and then I added in her original lip color. I use a combination of darker and lighter colors for the lips in order to give the impression that the lips are three-dimensional. Now I'm adding another layer. This is going to be the layer that is what I call the cosmetic layer, where the actual sort of makeup parts come into play. I begin by selecting an eyebrow color. I drew in the brows using the pencil tool on a fine setting. I also used the same color for the bottom side eyeliner. Then I added in a highlight color under the brow and in the corners of the eyes, and I smudged those using the smudge tool to blend. I then added black eyeliner and blended it into eyeshadow. I smudged multiple colors together to coordinate with the hair using lots of different greens, blues, and golds. Again, to coordinate with the hair. I constantly drew in new colors with the pencil tool and smudged them so that they would blend with the previous color so that it ended up kind of ombreing from light to dark. Next, I used the color sliders to create a lipstick color, and I applied it to the lips using the pencil tool. And I once again smudged it to blend using the smudge tool. I used a combination of darker and lighter colors again to maintain. Then I went in and smoothed out the skin just a little bit more, consistently building up layers. To create the effect of glitter, I went to the texture tool and selected the star line. I made it smaller and mostly opaque so that there would be tiny glitter stars. To create the glitter, I put lots of brightish yellow, tiny stars very close together on her eyelids. I used a few different golden shades and shapes to really give some variety and sparkle to that glitter look. I also used some turquoise stars to keep that fantasy look that I'm trying for this to keep going. Placing a few scattered pure white stars really creates a bit of flash that gives the look of the glitter itself. Create a new layer that's going to be for the hair texture and detail. Open the texture icon again and select a spatter pattern. This will help create the texture of the locks themselves. After I select the color, I start with a little bit of the spatter texture at the hairline to soften the transition from the skin to the hair. This helps conceal our blend from where we cut the two photos together in Photo Mix. At this point, when selecting colors, it often helps to make the colors a little brighter so the texture really stands out. For straighter hair textures, I will often use the paintbrush tool, which gives more of a separated, streaky look, and that makes a really nice straighter or wavier hair texture. Check your work again without the original photo to sort of see where you are and where additional texture is needed. Oops, we've got a little oops there. The undo tool is a great command for fixing that. And keep selecting and adjusting new colors to get that nice variety and all of those seed colors into this hairstyle. And then I'm just adding streaks of the texture. And again, I'm constantly brightening them up a little bit so that they're visible on top of the darker colors that they're going on top of. Create a new layer right above the bottom layer for the original photo. This layer will be used to clean up the rendering for presentation. I selected a black color and airbrushed it around her face and hair to give more of a focused look on the center of the rendering. Because this file size is fairly large, the brush itself is actually small looking. If you're using a smaller file, you'll notice that the brushes are much bigger in size. But since my file is large for detail, I have to do a little bit of extra work here to really get the nice coverage with this black that I'm going for. Once I've laid the color in, I use the smudge tool on its largest setting to blend it all together. Because this layer is underneath the details that we did previously, we can use it as kind of an undercolor so that we can intensify all of the other colors in the rendering. I intensified sections of her hair color here, and I also deepened her skin tone so that it was more true to the skin color of the actress. It's easier to do it now because you can see what it looks like underneath all of the other detail layers that you've already drawn in. Here I'm picking nice deeper versions for her skin tone. And I'm airbrushing those in here, and then I will go back in and blend them. You can see how putting this color underneath is really intensifying the other work that we've already done. And I'm really making sure here that I'm using the smudge tool on the largest setting so that I can really smooth all of these colors together nicely. You can also adjust the wetness on this setting, which will help the colors flow into each other a little bit better as though you were using a watercolor brush. And we're still blending, always blending. It's true for makeup and it's true for renderings. I'm really using the colors to enhance the contour and the highlighting that I've already put on this rendering. And even more blending. Now I'm going to make a layer that's going to be my text layer that I'm going to use to actually put a label on this rendering. So I've selected white for the color of my text, and then I get to select my font, and then I'm drawing on approximately where I want it to be, and then you can go back in and pinch and shape and direct with your fingers or your stylus the size of what you want your text to actually be. So let's make that a little bit bigger and put it where we can read it. There it is. Now I'm going to go in and create one more final top layer, and I'm going to use the pencil tool on a very fine setting to draw in her eyelashes. There it is. So here go the eyelashes one by one to really give it that finished, polished look that I'm going for. And then I will go in and draw the eyelashes in on the other side. This is also a chance for you to get a really good up-close look at the glitter effect that I've drawn in, because glitter. If we turn off all the layers, we can see how each layer added back in creates the look of the final rendering. So now we're adding them in one at a time by clicking that eye icon. We can also hide the original photo if we want more of a drawn final look. To make it look more finished, I will add in another underlayer of a solid color. I often pick gray, but you could pick any color you wanted to go underneath. So now I'm adding it in fairly low underneath the underpainting layer, so it's the very closest one to the original photo. And this creates the effect of the paper that you would have drawn this rendering on. You can also leave the original photo in if you like that look better. And ta-da! It is a finished digital makeup rendering.